Yeah, we're here with Candice Hooper, and we have her two books here. The first one, Lincoln's Generals' Wives, and the second one, Delivered Under Fire. And you're a local writer and a national writer as well, but you picked the hardest genre, I think, to write about, which is actual history, where you have to do a lot of work. What made you decide, okay, I need to start with this and I'm going to put it down into a book?
Well, growing up, I loved to read Nancy Drew stories, and so that's detective stories.
Yeah.
And so the notion of writing history to me is detective work. You're always looking for something, you're trying to sift through a lot of evidence. But actually, when I was 55 years old, I decided I was going to go back to school and get a degree in, a master's degree in history, military history. And when I got that degree, I thought, well, I'll write an article for a journal about the women who went to see Lincoln to ask for help for their husbands during the Civil War. And one of my friends said, when I was explaining to them what I knew about it at that point, they said, well, that's not an article, that's a book. You have to write a book. So anyway, that's how I started.
How many years was that?
Well, this book, from start to finish, because I did not know what I was doing, was 8 years. Just a lot of research and a lot of writing, and I love to do both of them. I hear authors who don't like research and authors who don't like to write, but I love to do both.
Do you get off track with the research sometimes?
Oh, sure. You start going down these rabbit holes, and it's just amazing. I figured if there had been a really robust internet when I was in college, I never would have graduated because I never would have finished any of my term papers. I'd still be looking.
Now, I didn't realize that Lincoln was the first postmaster was under Lincoln. Is that right?
Well, no. Actually, the first postmaster was before the United States was founded. The Post Office Department is older than the United States of America, and it was Benjamin Franklin. Although some people say that Warren was the one who did it, but it was Benjamin Franklin. But this book is about the man who became sort of a de facto postmaster for General Grant.
I see.
And then took over as Grant began winning more and more battles and was given more and more territory to command. That man became essentially General Grant's postmaster. But it was all sort of an informal relationship. And that man was one of the most famous people during the Civil War, because whenever Grant would win a battle, when he occupied, let's say, Nashville, which was the capital of Tennessee, and they would say that Absalom Markland, newspapers would report Absalom Markland is the first civilian to enter Nashville after the Union captured it, then everybody would know that they could get mail. They could send mail to their soldiers. They could get mail in return from their soldiers. And so he was famous, and he was, everywhere he went, the newspapers reported it. And then not long after he died, he became completely forgotten. So by the time I wrote this book, even the most avid Civil War historians weren't really familiar with him. And the only people who really knew who he was were the people in the Smithsonian Postal Museum.
Oh.
They knew who he was, but nobody told his story.
And what was your time arc for putting this one together?
The first one took 8 years. That one took maybe 4.5 years.
Well, you're getting the next ones too, right?
Well, no, I don't think so. Because there wasn't really that much about him available except the newspaper columns. There were only about 25 letters of his letters that were available. And so I had to sort of work around these big gaps in knowledge and try to fill them in other ways.
Right.
Which was the fun part of the detective work.
Are you doing any detective work for another one then?
Yes, I am.
Can you tell us a little bit
Sure.
about it?
I'm writing a biography of Robert Anderson, who was in command at Fort Sumter when the Confederates fired on it and started the Civil War. And he had an amazing history before Fort Sumter, and he was critically important to the war after Fort Sumter. But all anybody seems to know about him are those 5 months where he was the only thing standing between the Confederates and war.
You've also been a very good booster of the whole scene here and the writers here. Tell me a little bit about what it's like being here on the island.
Well, I think for one book notes, I wrote an article about how Boca Grande encourages authors here and how it's a great place to write. And part of that really came from Anne Lindbergh's Gift of the Sea, where she talks about that in very lyrical tones about being by the beach, being by the ocean, having sort of the sameness of beautiful days to do work and not do work. But the thing that is really great about this, as opposed to where she was on Sanibel by herself or with her sister, is that there are so many other writers here. And, you know, between the poets group, the scholars, and the library, you just end up being surrounded by people who are very encouraging,
Yep.
and very interested, and that we're all interested in what everybody else is doing. And the library, well, is just the gem, is the beating heart of the island, I think.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.